Hey everybody, welcome back to Three Swords Productions. This is Steven here, and I've got Chad with me today. Chad has not done commentary over videos before,
No, I
so
have not, and I am happy to be here to do this. This is
yeah.
this is exciting.
I gave you a good matchup too. We have Kinnemon versus Zoro.
hmm
If you're new to the channel and you like the content, hit the subscribe button and press like on the video. Chad, you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's jump into it.
Okay, let's go. All right. So actually, Chad's piloting the Zoro side here. We've got Alex on Kinnemon. If you guys watched the Battle Spirits video, Alex was doing commentary with me there. Looks like players are deciding on a mulligan. Chad, do you remember who went first for this one?
No, I don't, but luckily we'll find out in just a minute. I
Right?
do believe that we both mulliganed here.
Yep. We did see that.
In this case, I was.
Alex disrespecting the deck zone, putting the being one of the only players on Earth to put their deck vertically like that.
Hey, he likes the original template, and we can't fault him for that.
That's fair. We did not let him play with his playmat. It is the ungodliest red color.
It is very bright and very distracting.
All right, so it looks like Chad's going first on Zoro. Gonna
Yep.
start out
So,
with a Nami. Nami letting him look at the top 5 cards of his deck. And he's got some selection there. I see Vista, Makino, Otama, Edward Newgate, and he goes for the only target there, which is 5-drop Luffy.
yeah, and I was gonna say I think we could actually just call that slow play at this point because I took far too long on
He was
one
looking at
card
it.
choice.
That's all right. It gave me plenty of time to read all the cards that we looked at. But you are putting a 9-drop on the bottom of your deck, which is important. Kinnemon players starting out with the turn 2 Raizo. Not as strong as the Okiku, but Raizo's going to actually be really powerful in this matchup. It's going to let him draw a card and contest almost every character that Zoro's going to put out.
Yeah.
And we see the Zoro swing for 5. And Kinnemon just wanting more cards. Kinnemon player kind of putting their hands under the table. Not something I typically like, but actually what you can't see is that the tablecloth here actually blocks the entire underside of the table, so nothing nefarious going on under there.
True. And we trust Alex.
Well,
Eh, we sometimes trust Alex.
okay, so we got a leader Zoro swing, and then we're going to play character Zoro and attack with that too.
Yeah.
We'll see if the Kinnemon player chooses to counter out of that or not.
Yeah, I think this is also an important turn to talk about just because with Zoro being so low to the ground, you have a ton of options. Well, we can see my full hand here. Uh, my options for, say, dropping 3 1-drops is just not really a threat since I only have the 2, and one of them is kind of just Gordon.
Well, you could have went for a Sunny Kun, a Gordon, and then a leader swing for 6K, which would have been fine. But I think the important context for your hand here is that you're holding second Rush Zoro
hmm
and then 2 Rush Luffy. So
Yeah.
basically, starting on this turn, you're going to be able to attack with Rush every single turn of the game.
Yeah.
Which as we see, could put Kinnemon on the back foot if he doesn't actually take the time to establish his own board and start chipping away at your life.
Right. And while we're not exactly worried about him trying to like pressure our life just because that equals more cards in our hand,
Okay.
as a Zoro player, we really just want to like keep pressure up so that way when we do get to the late game where Kinnemon tends to be better, we're far enough ahead that the new gates and your 5-drop Luffy's kind of just pushes for game.
Yep.
Because if you're in a situation where they're tapping out to play like Odin or even the 7-drop Kid blocker, then you're in just a far better spot. Especially if you've got them at 0 and you have a 5-drop Luffy in hand.
Mhm.
That's pretty much just game ending.
So we saw the Kinnemon player play 2 Momonosuke's. I did not actually get a peek at his hand, but so that turn there, I would have much preferred to see a threat come down. Something like Yamato would have been truly excellent to be able to pressure the opponent's lead, as well as continue to put pressure on characters that Zoro plays without needing to rely on attaching Dawn, which is going to further put him behind. We would have
Yeah.
also liked to see Kiku play. That would have been really nice.
Yeah, any number of cards that weren't double
Momo's like a
Momo.
really good card advantage. You are going to allow yourself to counter out of a lot of things, and your hand size is probably going to get really big this game because you've taken all that life, as well as you have Momonosuke's going. But it's really important to put pressure on the board also.
Yeah.
And we are going to get to see Raizo go in on the Zoro, actually draw some cards here.
Yeah. It's also a good thing to note that he's already at 1 life, which tells me that his hand is like really weak and he's digging for like actually impactful cards.
We see Bonnie, we see Kazuki Toki. All right, we are going to look at the top 5 cards of our deck. Interesting, too, that he has 3 characters on board, so he's not going to be able to use the Kinnemon ability this turn.
He was able to finally find Okiku.
He's a couple blockers in his hand, as well as an X-Drake. X-Drake could be really powerful.
Gonna dig some more cards. Assuming at this point he's gonna try and like.
Okay, so we are getting a lot of cards here. Should see an attach on the Raizo and swing with the Raizo, and then possibly play a blocker. That is a full grip from the Kinnemon player, though. He has a lot of cards.
Yeah, that is a thick stack.
Yeah, basically 1 copy of every card in his deck. So he has a ton of options here. Some Ezos. He's pretty safe at 1 life, despite being so low. He is controlling the board since Zoro is only playing 1 character per turn. We are going to see the Raizo come across for 5. We should see the Zoro player just take this. Raizo drew a card.
Some more slow play on my end. I can't counter this. It's not actually slow play. I'd like to just.
Does Gordon not counter? Gordon does not have.
No, they're a hand full of non-counterable cards.
Okay, it's the other Gordon I'm thinking of that has a 2K on it.
Yeah, the 2-drop.
The non-promo version. Okay, it looks like we drew a second Edward Newgate. Oh no! Drew a Magura. Okay.
Yep.
It's the upside down hand that's getting me there. Okay, and we've been establishing rush characters the entire game. I assume we're going to see some more of that. Just come across for 6 first. Okay, choosing the Sunny Kun to make the Sunny Kun a 6K.
Yep.
And we come across for 6. Pretty smart. Let's go ahead and deal with the blocker first. 5 Dawn left. We played Machina. We tap it. Target the Nami. Do you think that was a bit of an early block with the Capone there? I think so. I think we could have countered out of your 6K swing with a 2K counter in our hand and kept our blocker. I think he's trying to play around Luffy. He does know you have a Luffy in your hand.
Right.
But you did only have 5 Dawn this turn, so maybe have saved him a card later on in the turn.
No, I think it was still.
And this is a 9K swing, so he definitely could have used the Capone on this attack for sure.
Exactly why I think it was a little bit.
Yeah.
Presumptuous. The moment he blocks for the first attack, it just becomes really evident that I don't have to worry about a blocker for the rest of the turn, so I can just structure the rest of my attacks to kind of play around that. And he definitely didn't know about the Makino in hand as well as the Magura, so you can't really play around like a 9K swing from Nami and then a 9K swing on your leader unless you take the easy counter with your massive hand.
And he is going to swing 0 Momonosuke on 0 Makino. Since attackers win ties in this game, that is going to kill the Makino.
Yep.
Raizo swings on, I assume, Sunny Kun. There it is. And he draws a card. I believe Kinnemon player is up to about 14 cards in his hand.
It was a very large number.
Okay. And this is kind of the importance of establishing a threat on those off turns, like the turns that we saw the double Momonosuke come down. If we had instead seen a threat, Zoro basically would have never answered that threat, and you would have had that to either chip damage across or better deal with characters on the board. But we do still have our leader swing to clean up the Nami. But we are at 0, so things are getting a little bit hairier. Our hand has multiple blockers in it, though, so as long as we can establish a blocker and then still counter out of a Luffy swing, we can still control the battlefield here. Zoro is at 4, so you're going to have to worry about dealing 4 damage throughout the course of the game. Add another Ezo to hand.
Yeah, Zoro's sitting very strong in this, because he's still spinning and not putting threats in play.
Zoro can sit here and lose the board for multiple turns just waiting on the exact moment that he can actually deal damage. And double killer plays. Again, just kind of saying, hey, if you want to get to me, you're going to have to play your Luffy. And that's fine, we will.
I do think that this was a mistake on his end, just because we also know that he had Okiku in hand, and that would have been a really good turn to put something in play. That
just another opportunity to establish a threat that we're kind of more worried about Zoro attacking. I mean, I think the thought process from the Kinnemon player is that, hey, Zoro will run out of gas, I just have to wait for that to happen.
Yeah.
But that's kind of set 1 mentality. Set 2, we actually have more of an incentive to play those 5-drop Luffys. We have Edward Newgate, a 9-drop, and once Edward Newgate comes down, I do not run out of steam anymore.
Right.
And we play 4 of that, so it's kind of tough to rely on Zoro just running out of gas.
Yeah, that doesn't just happen. Between the two different packages with the Dan and then Nami,
Hmm.
you have too much refill potential for that to really be
Yeah.
like a strategy against Zoro anymore. So you have to chip them away while dealing with their board, which is just really hard for a lot of decks to do. Kinemon has a
Okay.
okay time at that, but
And he played the Edward Newgate and did not swing for 7, but we kind of feel like he should have, so he just went ahead and I think he declared pass, but then chose to attack anyways.
yeah.
And he swung 3K Magura on the Momonosuke. Killer will tap itself. Oh, I think I maybe misunderstood and he did not pass yet.
Yeah, no pass. It was attack for 3
I thought
or 2
Kinnemon
on Momo.
drew a card.
Yeah.
No problem.
He drew because he wanted to block with the killer.
I see you drew from the killer. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
probably
then he
what it was.
counters to save it. No, he does
He's
not.
going to draw another card from the other killer.
He did save. He did save the one
He
killer.
did save the 1 killer, which is fair.
Yeah.
You could have just let the Momonosuke die, though.
Yeah.
But I think the extra draw is cool. But having to waste counters from your hand in order to get that draw card isn't quite netting anything.
No, I mean, it technically is a net 0 unless you're filtering a card, which can be useful.
If you're looking for something, then that's actually powerful. But
Right.
I think we need Odin at this point. We're gonna have to get something massive. Yeah. So
There's Odin.
we have the Odin, but it did cost us 2 Dawn to find it. So this probably is not the turn for Odin. Okay, we can't really get in the 10 drops away at this point. It's just gonna swing and destroy the killer.
And our opponent realized, Kinemon player realized that attacking
we
with lead is a
have
mistake.
I think we're stranded on. We'd have no Yamatos this game. I think that might be like one of the issues on the Kinnemon side. They just did not see Yamato despite having 14, 15 cards in their hand more throughout the game. And they're holding at least 2 Kazuki Tokis. 8-drop will be is an Odin for the Kazuki Toki. But we play 7-drop here. So we actually have 2 blockers, and the 7-drop, cannot be destroyed by the Edward Newgate. Flashing the hand to the camera. Suave.
Attack 12.
Swing, kill the killer.
Yep. There was 2 lines of thought because we could have easily just played the 5-drop Luffy here to try to force game, but at the same time, playing it this way allows you to remove a draw, which kind of doesn't matter with how large the Kinemon player's hand is. But
right, like you can attach 2 Dawn there and swing, or you can just swing with 10, and your opponent's not really going to have enough blockers in order to deal with all of this. So
correct.
Whatever you do, I think you're in such a commanding lead. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
And then considering countering out of the attack there to save a 7-drop, but at this point, I think he's realizing the game is super far gone, and that's kind of just it.
Yeah. 'Cause then we just attack for, I think it was 12. 12?
Okay.
Yeah, it's 12.
7, 9. Third Ezo for 11. All right. And we need 2K more. And 12. And that's 13. It's your attacks for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Your attack is for 13, though, so that got us to 14. We did actually protect.
Oh, yeah, we must have realized in the middle of the turn that I didn't get Dawn that turn. So, don't forget your Dawn.
Okay, now the Kinnemon has quite the quest to go down. Has to somehow deal 4 damage to Zoro without dying over the course of the next couple of turns, and deal with this Edward Newgate. 10 Gate's such a house.
There's a reality where killing Newgate is actually possible, but
There
between
is.
5 cards in hand. I don't know if you risk your turn on that, only to lose the following turn to a Newgate
Well, you
swing.
don't have a lot of options here. All right, so we do finally have the Yamato. It's a little late for that. We're kind of considering playing it just so that Kazuki Tokis come online. Because at that point we have killer Toki Toki.
Hmm.
We did not counter out with any other Tokis, I don't believe.
No, he did keep both Tokis
We
in
used
hand.
Bonnies for that. Okay. So there's Yamato with no effect. And if we had Yamato much earlier in the game, I think things would have gone a little bit differently. We were holding on to 3 Ezo, so that could have also been some kind of power if we had played Ezo to tap down some of the Nami or whatever was holding back.
Yeah.
That would have established a body also. Got another Raizo.
I think the hard spot here is that he needs to start attacking life to get me in a position, or the Zoro player in a position to
Mm-hmm.
lose.
Yep.
And then you can't really do that too well if you say instead of playing the 4-drop Yamato, you play Odin and then the 2 Tokis. Because that also doesn't leave you any room to spin Momos for more counter power, which you're definitely going to need after you just dropped 7 to however many cards. I think it was like almost 10 cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely 2 powerful attacks have broken the Kinnemon's defenses here. Okay, we are still looking at 4 blockers in our hand at least. Unfortunately, Zoro's holding 2 Luffy. All right, Momonosuke dies, and that is 6 characters on the board. Okay, there we go. Cleaned it up. Okay, that is a lot of blockers, so just the incentive here to swing with Luffy. I would want to see probably 1 Dawn on the leader, and then 2 Dawn. Do you put 2 Dawn on the new gate and swing first? Be able to destroy one of the blockers.
I like it. If I was in this position in multiple scenarios, I would likely would continually use Newgate's ability just to clear a second blocker,
Mm-hmm.
because effectively every time he swings, it's going to be 2 blockers. There's no way he can afford to just counter and then, or like try to counter out of like another 13 swing. We're in such a, like, again, we're just in this situation, we're in such a commanding lead where it's too easy to just pressure with only Newgate and win the long term. But at the same time, we saw him use a ton of counter power. There's a very good chance that he just can't counter of a giant swing with Luffy, and then you kind of win off of that, and then you can just do it again the next turn.
Yeah, so at this point, our Luffy becomes 12k,
Right.
which would require quite a bit of cards out of hand.
Yeah.
Looks like we are going to go full Dawn on Luffy, which is very reasonable. Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to split it up. This splits it up in a weird way. I think I would have liked to play the Luffy last, just to see if, hey, maybe I swing with the Newgate, I take out one of the blockers, he blocks with another one, and then the Zoro swings for 6, and maybe he just doesn't block, and he counters out of it, and you get 1 extra counter out of his hand.
Mm-hmm.
But being super face up with, hey, I'm planning on the Luffy this turn, is a little bit, giving him full information. But
Yeah.
he did already know that you had the Luffy. You grabbed it earlier on in the game,
Yeah.
and he's just not able to counter out.
It's super unnecessary, but you're also again still just super far ahead. You can absolutely just push this through.
Yep.
There was no wrong choice in that scenario, just because you had the game since
Very true. There was
turn
no
5.
wrong wrong play there.
Um,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a showcase on, you play the Kinnemon, you need to establish threats kind of first, and then once you have threats going, Momonosuke can really dig you out.
Yeah.
He didn't quite have that option earlier on in the game. He was not holding Yamatos. He drew a lot of his Kazuki Tokis, probably more than he wanted to see early on. But in a Kiku on that at least 1 turn, we did know that was an option. So, you got to establish a bit of threat against Zoro.
Yeah, I definitely think that was probably the moment he conceded the game in that situation, is just
Mhm.
because he created no fighting chance.
Okay.
But
All right, guys. Well, if you're still here, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. And leave a comment if you have any suggestions for better plays, better commentary. And if you want more content, just click on the playlists that are popping up right now.
Yeah.
Peace.